Hi friends, my name is Aqil Ahmed. I am a senior software engineer. In this particular video tutorial, I will be talking about the fuzzy lookup transformation in SSIS. So the agenda of today's video tutorial is what is fuzzy lookup transformation and how to use the fuzzy lookup transformation in SSIS packages. So the fuzzy lookup transformation is an SSIS component that can be used to clean, standardize or correct data in input data source doing a fuzzy matching with a reference data set. So the fuzzy lookup transformation actually uses fuzzy or partial matching to return one or more close matches in the reference table, while the lookup transformation uses an equi-join to locate the matching records in the reference table. So the lookup transformation actually does a equal join, so if the data in the source and in the reference table is not 100% same, then the lookup transformation won't return any data. However, the fuzzy lookup can return data if it is partial matching in the input data source and a reference table. In this video tutorial, I will be using a CSV file that has some data in it, including city as an input data source and a SQL Server table named city as a reference data set. So we will do fuzzy or partial matching for the data based on the city between the input data source and the reference data set. And then we will pick the ID, city and country additional columns from the reference data set. So let's jump to the demo. So this is my input data source, customer with city info, and if you open this particular file in any text editor, so I'm opening it in the text grid, so you can see we have columns like ID, first name, last name, email, gender and city. So this particular column, like city column, it has some values like New York, and another value like it has double space in it, and then it has extra dot, and then in the New York we have some dots. So this data in the city is not 100% accurate. So for example, for London we have value as London, it's fine, but we also have another value like London dot, and similarly for Salt Lake City we have the correct name as Salt Lake City, and in the next line the Salt Lake is it's not 100% accurate, similarly it's not accurate. So we have some incorrect data, you can see maybe a typo in the city column. And if you open the SQL Server Management Studio, so you can see I have a table which has some city information in it. So it has like city ID, city name and its corresponding country. So for example, I have a record as New York as a city and country as a USA, and then I have a column like New Delhi, and then country as an India, and similarly for rest of the cities as well. So what we want to do is, like, we want to match this particular table on the city column with the input data source with this particular table, reference table, city table, and we want to match the city with this table, and then using the fuzzy lookup or using the partial match, we want to get the correct city from this particular table and then its corresponding ID and country values as well. So for example, the New York value in the city column for this particular record should be matched with these records like New York, this record New York, and this record New York. Similarly for the Salt Lake City value in the city column, it should be matched with these values like Salt Lake City 1, then 2, 3 and these 4 records. Okay, so actually we want to do a fuzzy lookup for these particular records using the city column. So and then once we got the records, matching records, so we want to insert those particular records in this table, fuzzy lookup table. So this table is right now empty, so it has values like ID, first name, last name, city, all columns for the input data source and for the matching columns for the for the fuzzy lookup columns like city ID, country and correct city. So these are the actually values like city ID, current country, correct city from the city table, and I will talk about these columns later. So let's see how you can use the fuzzy lookup to do a fuzzy matching between the data in the input data source and the data in the reference data table. So this is my SQL Server Data Tools 2013 that I'm going to use to create the SSIS package. And let's drag and drop a data flow task into the control flow window. Double click data flow task to configure it. And let's drag and drop the flat file source as we are going to read data from a CSV file. So fuzzy lookup. So let's browse the file. So this is my file customer with city info, and if you go to column, so you can see the list of available columns and data in that particular column. Okay, so like for example for Noida we have three values, Noida dot Noida, Noida dot. Click OK. So we have configured the flat file source. Now let's drag and drop the fuzzy lookup transformation into the data flow task, and then connect the output from the flat file source with the input to the fuzzy lookup transformation. Double click fuzzy lookup transformation, make a connection to the database developer.testing. So this is my database that I'm going to use in this particular demo, and our table name is city. Let's jump to the columns. So you can see the city is automatically mapped. However, let's remove it. So we want to do a matching between city in the input data source and the city in the reference table, and then we want to get like ID, city and country, all columns from the reference data set, as well as the input columns from the input data source. So for city we can maybe name it as correct city, because this is the correct value that we want from reference table. And now let's jump to the advanced. So actually there are three settings here that we can use to configure the fuzzy lookup transformation. The first one is the maximum number of matches to output per lookup. So by default this value is 1. So what this value is do, based on this particular number, it returns the maximum number of available matches. So for example, if we can set it to 5, and for a particular input data record, if it got matched with the 5 different records in the reference data set, then it can return the 5 records. However, in most of the cases we want just one record to be returned from the reference data set. So let's set it to be 1, and for similarity threshold let's set it to as maybe 70 for now, and I will talk about this similarity later once the package will be run. For the token delimiters, actually we need to tell the fuzzy lookup that these delimiters needs to be cared of while doing a fuzzy lookup. For example, if you look at this particular CSV file, so we have some extra spaces in the city, and then we have some dot in the city as well. So like the spaces and dots needs to be taken care of while doing a fuzzy matching. So we can just simply put a dot here, and then we can remove these things, and we can have just a space and dot to be taken care of while doing a fuzzy matching. And now simply click OK. So it's city is not equal to the length of the city. Okay, so in this particular table the city is of varchar 100. So let's change the length of the city to the 100 so that the warning can be removed. Click OK. Okay, so the warning has gone, and now let's dump this particular data into the OLEDB destination table, and double click OLEDB destination. Our table name that we want to insert data to is fuzzy lookup. So right now the table is empty. Okay, navigate to mappings. So the columns of input have been mapped with the destination columns. All columns have been mapped except city ID. So let's map this column as well. Okay, and maybe we can rename the column here. For example, output, it should be city ID actually. Okay, so city ID should be mapped with the city ID. Okay, so now let's start the SSIS package. So the package has run successfully for 100 records, and now let's see the data in the SQL Server table. So for example, now you can see for the New York, this is the input column, New York. For this record, the correct city is also New York, and the similarity is 1. And for the New York dot, the correct value is New York, and the similarity is 0.9875, and the confidence score is also 0.975. Okay, and like for this new dot York, this is the similarity is 0.987 and 0.9, the confidence is also same. Okay, same is the case for Noida as well. For example, for the correct value in Noida, the similarity is 1. So from this particular example, what we can see is that for 100% matching, the similarity should be 1, and for the lower matching, the similarity should be decreased to 0. So what is exactly the similarity value, this 0.9875? So the similarity is a mathematical measure of textual similarity between the inputs record and the record that fuzzy transformation returns from the reference table. How similar the Noida is with with the actual Noida, so we had only just one character different from the Noida. So this is how we got the similarity. And the confidence is a measure of how likely it is that a particular value is the best matching among the matches found in the reference table. So for example, for an input record, if more than one matches record found in the reference table, then the confidence score will be low, and it will be higher if only one record found in the reference table. So for example, let's take a look at the .Noida. So in Noida, if you look at the city table, so in Noida we have just one record named Noida, so that's why the confidence is very high, 0.9875. However, if we had more than one records in the matching table similar to Noida, then the confidence should be low, but the similarity should be the same. And the similarity is actually the term how much the data input data source is similar with the reference data set. So in reference data set, if you can insert one similar record related to Noida, maybe South Noida, Greater Noida, something else, then the confidence score should be low because it can find more than one records. So that's why the quality of records can be down. So for example, for Noida dot, let's name the similarity is 0.9875, and the confidence is the same, 0.9875. So let's what we do, truncate this particular table, city table, and let's insert one more record Greater Noida in it, so that you can see how values for confidence score and similarity changes. So now we have two values, Noida and Greater Noida. So now if you will rerun the same exercise package, so the values for this particular record Noida dot, this value should be decreased, however this value should be same. So let's truncate this table, and now we don't have any data in this particular table. For the city table we have two values like Greater Noida and Noida. So now if you will rerun the exercise package, and if you see the data again in this particular table, fuzzy lookup, so for Noida dot, now you can see the similarity is still same, because similarity is the how similar is the data. However, the value in the confidence score has been decreased from 0.9875 to 0.5. So and if you insert more records into related to Noida in the city table, so the value for the confidence score will be low. So similar is the case for other records as well. For example, for Salt Lake City, right now the confidence score is for this particular case confidence score is 0.78. However, if we insert more records similar to Salt Lake City in the reference table, then the confidence score will actually decrease. So it is basically a quality, how much is the quality of the record that got matched from the fuzzy lookup. So guys, this is how we use the fuzzy lookup transformation to match the record. So this is the correct record, and these are the values, city and country from the matching table. Thanks guys for watching the video, and if you like the video, then please click the like button and do subscribe to our channel to see more videos on SSIs and other related technologies. Thank you so much.